Hey there. Today I wanted to spend some time talking about some of the rule changes that are coming to Major League Baseball and the National Football League. So, first off, MLB has decided that for this 2020 season and beyond, for the time being, that they would make adjustments to different elements that deal with game speed, roster sizes, and the injured list. Let's delve into the game speed changes that they've made, shall we? Major League Baseball has made an extreme effort to attempt to make the game of baseball quicker for years, from making changes to the break time between shot clock for the pitchers to become set and throw their pitch. Well, now they've made some additional changes that consist of a minimum batter faced for pitchers, both starters and relievers, and reducing the time for a manager's challenge. With the minimum batter faced rule change, any starter or relief pitcher has to face a minimum of 3 batters before they can exit the game. This is in an effort of Major League Baseball to make the games quicker by eliminating the increased amount of bullpen visits throughout the course of the game. By having your pitcher face a new minimum, you're practically eliminating the specialists out of the bullpen. It also calls upon the manager to trust his guy out of the bullpen to get through a full inning of work facing lefties, righties, and switch hitters in said inning. The only exception to this rule is if the pitcher cannot continue to pitch either due to illness or injury, or if the relief pitcher comes into the game to record the final out or two of an inning, they're not forced to come back out at the next inning to pitch to at least one more batter. The next adjustment they've made is simply enough by decreasing the amount of time managers can challenge a play from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. Another rule change that they made has to do with roster sizes for each team. They increased the number of players that you can have on your roster by one, making your active roster sit at 26. They also adjusted the number of pitchers you can have on your roster by capping that at 13 pitchers. One more change they made to the active rosters was during September call-ups. They used to see teams call up everyone and their brother to the big leagues for a month. They have capped that number to 28 players. So just 2 more players can be called up during September while increasing your total number of pitchers on the roster to 14. Personally, I don't like this adjustment to the rosters for September call-ups. For teams that are well out of the playoffs, this is their chance to give some guys a look before next year's spring training. It's also a chance for some teams to call up some older minor league players who have either never made it to the major league scene or have been out of the mix for a few years. Lastly, Major League Baseball has decided to once again change time served on their injury list for their pitchers. Since 2017, both pitchers and position players had to spend a minimum of 10 days on the injured list, but now pitchers will have to spend 15 days on the injured list. Position players will only have to spend 10 days on the injured list as usual. On to the NFL, where they have agreed to a new collective bargaining agreement for the years of 2020 to 2030. The first adjustment they made is at the beginning of the 2020 season, there will be 14 teams in the playoffs as opposed to 12, which means that only the top seed of both conferences will receive a first-round bye week. The next change that will take effect at the start of the 2021 season will be an added regular season game, as well as reducing the preseason games from 4 to 3. So we will now be experiencing an 18-week season, which will eventually evolve into a 19-week season, as owners will continue to tinker with the regular season and possibly add another bye week for every team to allow additional recovery time. Because of the additional regular season game, in an effort to assist teams with their increased workload, they're increasing game day rosters from 53 to 55. I still do not agree with increasing the regular season to 18 weeks. Players are battered and beat up throughout the season already, and now adding that extra game, we'll see more players getting hurt before the start of the postseason. But like all rule changes, this will become the new normal for all of us that follow the sport. I mean, who could forget back in the 1800s when a touchdown used to be just 2 points? Some rule changes that have been proposed by 4 NFL teams that will be ruled upon in the coming months consist of a new blindside blocking ruling and allowing teams a secondary option instead of an onside kick. So, the first rule that was proposed was about taking away the unnecessary roughness tag on the blindside blocking calls. The reason for this is to not be severely penalized for this foul. The reason it was brought up is because in the 2019 playoff game between the Bills and the Texans, there was a blindside blocking penalty called against the Bills' offensive linemen, which pushed them back 15 yards in overtime and knocked them out of field goal range that could have possibly won them the game. Adjusting the severity of this penalty will hopefully eliminate the effectiveness of this drive killer during the game. The next proposed rule is an alternative to the onside kick rule, and it's an interesting one. They are proposing that instead of attempting an onside kick, a team that is trailing in the game could potentially attempt a 4th and 15 play from their own 25-yard line. Something similar that took place during the Pro Bowl back in January. I think this is a creative way to look at giving your team the ball back. Instead of kicking it right into the ground and hoping for a good bounce, you're allowing a few more things to go your way in the attempts of maintaining possession of the ball. You could of course convert on the fourth down attempt and continue the drive, or on the fourth down play, the defensive team could commit a penalty that would possibly give your team a fresh set of downs. Well, those are the rule changes that have become official or are in the midst of being voted upon in Major League Baseball and the National Football League, respectively. I believe I speak for near everyone when I say, let's just get to playing some baseball already. We could care less about these rule adjustments that have been made already. We'll get used to them in due time. Until next time, I'm Kevin Householder.